Alright, welcome everybody. You're listening to Blood on the Mic here on whatever platform it is that you're listening to. Podcasts.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Wherever you get your podcasts. I guess I'm used to mentioning the platform myself since I'm a radio guy. So
David's like a radio, what's the word?
Personality?
Yeah, he's like he's old school. He's a radio personality. You can catch him on WMBR 88.1 if you happen to live in Boston.
You can also go to WMBR.org. You can do that for any place that has internet access. But we're gonna start our show today. Before we get into what our show actually is about, we did want to remind you guys of what our last episode was about. If you missed it, last episode was about Fiona Apple, and even though we try to focus it on Extraordinary Machine and how there's two versions of that album, we were arguing about which one was better, blah 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 blah. It ended up being really a look through at her career and kind of how she grew and developed as an artist. We also talked a little bit about some of the new music that have been coming out.
You guys know the format of the show by now. I mean, there's been 2 whole episodes.
2 whole episodes. Yeah, you guys are lifelong fans at this point. And so if you missed any of that, you can always go back and catch what we said about those things. But and right before to kind of maybe clue you in, at the moment, both Lucy and I are kind of living together.
Yeah.
We got some commentary asking us for some banter at the start of the show, but we see each other so often that there's really nothing else that we want to talk about.
My brother is my main source of criticism for this album for this podcast, and he says we should have banter at the beginning. So I was racking my brain thinking, what kind of banter can we do? Are we interesting people? What kind of banter can we put in the beginning of this?
We could have like a short food banter session. We were arguing earlier today about cheeses itself. I think
this is even more boring than our actual podcast.
I know
it is. We can't just talk about cheese.
I'll just give you my hot takes on cheese. For instance, I think ricotta is a little bit overrated.
Ricotta is in no way overrated. It is in fact underrated. Because you don't understand, ricotta is not a cheese that you eat by itself. Like, you can't just take spoonfuls of ricotta, even though you could, and I would eat it. But like, you gotta put it in shit like lasagna or whatever.
Yeah, I would just much rather have, like, I don't know, mozzarella instead of ricotta. But
if you're gonna eat it by itself, but you don't eat it by itself,
right? And there's always the argument like, oh, but you haven't had ricotta from the ricotta region of Italy.
Yeah.
And maybe they are right, but like, if you do have to get it from such a particular source, what does that say about the cheese itself?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, anything where the argument is like, no, you have to have it from like the best place possible. It's like, then it's not very good, is it? Like, like pizza is decent no matter where you get it. Like, there's some, like, I've never had pizza so bad I couldn't eat it.
Oh, I have. And I know you might take this a little personally, but it was in the one time I went to Cuba. That pizza was so bad.
Cuban pizza is not, it's good. It's just not pizza. It's like, it's something else. I'm not sure what it is, but you have to just get in the mindset. It's like, this isn't going to be pizza. Like, this is something else. And then you'll like it.
We should have a communist food 101 discussion.
What's some Soviet food?
Some Soviet food.
I mean, I've heard a lot about these bread lines. Like, that bread must have been really good if they're gonna stand in line that long to get it.
Either that or they were just hungry. But.
Look, I don't know. My school didn't teach me about the Soviet Union. I'm just...
we were all born post-Cold War over here.
Okay, look. Well, that's enough banter for today.
Enough banter. That was our food discussion.
Once we get into communism, we got to get the fuck out.
We gotta. That'll just put a damper on the whole show. But let's get right into the topic today. Our main discussion today is gonna be also around a particular artist. And today's artist is none other than the creator, Tyler.
Tyler the Creator.
More commonly known as Tyler the Creator.
So Tyler the Creator is a rapper who came out in the early 2010s. Actually, I think Bastard came out 2009. But he was really born out of the internet. He's one of the first rappers to get huge just off of, like, internet hype, I would say. There's probably, like, I think probably Lil B also came out around the same time. And he never got as big as Tyler the Creator got.
Oh, but Lil B was maybe just as big in my heart. Tyler the Creator Maybe we should give a little bit of background to him. His last name is actually Okonma, is the last name of his father was a Nigerian.
And if you've ever
Yeah,
listened to
Nigerian.
any Tyler the Creator music, the first thing you know is that he doesn't know his father, and he's
doesn't know his
very
father.
upset about it.
Yeah, and that's his main deal, especially in his early stuff. But he kind of grew up in the LA area. He likes to skateboard. His family was from my understanding kind of like doing okay growing up. I don't know.
They were probably like
He wasn't from Compton or anything like that.
yeah, I think he was like middle class, lower middle class around there. Like they
Yeah.
weren't like literally so poor they couldn't eat or anything.
Right. And yeah, and I mean like his music doesn't really reflect.
But yeah,
any of that.
yeah, it reflects that kind of like I mean it's not like in this time period it was all like gangster rap everything or like talking about the streets 24/7 in mainstream rap, but like Tyler the Creator I think is one of the bigger movements away from that kind of rap that
Right.
you see throughout the 2000s. where
Right.
People like Kanye West, Drake, where they're just like they're not talking about like being in the streets and shit like that. They're just talking about their life, which has nothing to do with that.
Right, and like I mean, partially they weren't necessarily from the streets either.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean I think he always has had a drive to create music, but the avenue in which he kind of started off was with this group that he put together, a hip hop collective called Odd Future.
Odd Future, Wolfgang, Kill Them All.
That is the full name of it,
If
and
that doesn't give you the full sense of like teen anger and angst that they're trying to give off, like I don't know what will. That's really like what early Odd Future and Tyler the Creator like. That's what they were. It's just
Right.
like teen angst.
it was a lot of teen angst. We'll see that that's reflected in his music. But Odd Future included a few other people. Many of them probably, I think, also like the LA area kids who were rapping.
Like all of them, really.
Yeah. I mean,
Because
some
I
of them
think
we still know today. Like Earl Sweatshirt, I think, is one of the
Yeah.
most well-known ones.
Earl Sweatshirt's like my favorite member of the Odd Future. Like he's my favorite person from there. I think he had the best career, but that's another episode.
To me, I still think that. I mean, to me, Odd Future is still kind of like synonymous with Tyler. But
Well, yeah, definitely he's the head of it.
right, and Odd Future was his own thing. There was merchandise that came out with Odd Future. There was like even a like summer festival that came along with it, and like
Yeah.
there was a TV show on was it Adult Swim that the TV show was?
Yeah,
on?
Loiter Squad.
Yeah,
So,
Loader Squad.
This was like, shows how popular they got. They had all this stuff.
Right. They really struck a nerve, especially with like teenagers at the time.
Yeah.
And I was definitely aware of what was happening. But I was already in college by the time that Tyler really broke through, and I was just in a different state of mind at the time. Tyler was not really like
I don't think also you were the type of teen to really get into this type of music.
right. I think
Where, like-
the only time in my life when I think like I would have really like sucked this music up might have been when I was like 13 years old.
Yeah, that's
And-
an appropriate time to get into
Right.
it. Like,
That was like a particular time in my life when I really did like I don't know. I was just generally like angry at like
yeah,
stuff and like I don't know.
that was like me until like a year ago. So I was the right type of teen to soak this up because I was just like anti-authoritarian and like fuck everything. Like, don't tell me what to do, mom.
Right. They had a very punk ethos to them, and
Yeah, well, definitely DIY because Tyler the Creator, he's a creator. He makes all his own beats. Definitely in early Odd Future, he was making everybody's beats.
right. He was
So-
he was just the overall producer. But yeah, no. At this point, let's just go directly into like what that music did sound like. At least with Tyler himself.
Yeah.
That was with the mixtape. I guess we can't really call it an album specifically.
Yeah.
It's called Bastard. Came out in 2009. And it runs around 55 minutes long, 15 songs roughly, something like that. All right, and I guess to kind of like start off with, it is a very DIY album. I think this one is the DIY album.
This is the album that kind of blew Tyler up. That put a lot of attention on him in Odd Future. I think it was mainly Bastard.
Right.
That showed people like, yeah, like he's a competent rapper, a competent songwriter.
Yeah, I mean the production I did think was I mean, obviously a little limited because like I don't even know what equipment they were working off of at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's lo-fi. It's not like super lo-fi,
No,
but
no,
like
it's
there's definitely like you can tell it was like a home recorded thing. Like he
right.
didn't have like studio time or anything like that.
Like I don't even know if they were using like a, a MIDI controller or an Ableton. Is that too high tech for them, or is he just like
He must have been. I mean, he probably downloaded it illegally,
right?
but like he had to have been doing that. Like it's not like I think you're playing up how lo-fi.
It's
like
not. It's
it's
not
not
like super
that lo-fi.
lo-fi.
Like the beats are
Yeah.
good. Like they sound like rap beats. They're just,
Right.
it's not.
No,
It's
yeah,
not.
the production is still good, especially thinking about the fact that he's 18 years old and using whatever
Yeah.
equipment he could get his hands on at the time. Um, and yeah, no, it's definitely an album. I would say it's probably like I would say a good album for somebody who is 18 years old putting out their own music. Uh, that being said, I don't know if I was to maybe look at it in the grander scope of hip hop. Um, it's really not that great.
Okay. When I have a soft spot for like Odd Future, I think, because this is really like when I was in high school. Like for a lot of my time in like as a teenager, I didn't really like listen to rapping. I didn't like listening to rap music. Really, I didn't listen to rap.
Right.
Like I'd listen to Kanye West because he was all over the radio and shit. But like I mostly listened to rock music. But then the stuff that changed that like opened my mind to that was A Tribe Called Quest and Tyler the Creator, which is
Okay.
weird that it was like specifically those two, which are completely different.
Yeah, they are pretty
But-
different. Not like well, yeah, they're pretty. At least within rap, they're pretty different.
Yeah.
I would say.
But Tyler the Creator, I think one of the reasons why I fell in love with it because I was listening to like punk music and shit, and like this has that ethos where it's like DIY, kind of lo-fi, like fuck everything, that kind
Right.
of shit. Like that's what I was on. Like,
Yeah. No, I get that. Even though like I never considered myself a punk kid at all. If anything, I've gotten more into punk as I've been older, and like the further
Yeah.
away I've come from adolescence, because like as a teenager, I never embraced those aspects of adolescence. I was like, that's not who I am, and I saw too many examples of people who did embrace that, and like so I had a particular like distaste for that kind of thing.
But my point was like, I look at this album with rose-colored glasses because like
Yeah,
I just think back to that time where I was like, not only was this like embodied that punk ethos, this was like some of the first rap I was listening to. Period.
right.
So like this is the first time me listening to rapping. So I'm like,
And
oh
it
my
was-
god,
it
Tyler
was
Creator's
stuff
like,
that like I mean I'm not gonna speak for you and stuff, but like I mean it just connected with you and your experience at the time.
yeah.
Like
So, but like listening
it
back,
is an album for teenagers essentially.
yeah, and listening back to it, I'm 26 now, so firmly not a teenager, and it's not the best album, but it's not. It's got its faults, but like I still think there's a lot of great songs on it. Him talking about raping people and shit and being
Right.
homophobic all the time, it's not great,
Right.
but it was shock value. Like
It is like a shock rap album. Yeah, for
so
sure.
yeah, for people who don't really know about Tyler the Creator, he was pretty controversial and still is to a certain extent, but really this time was when he was the most controversial because he rapped a lot about raping women.
Yeah, multiple
and-
songs about raping women.
and a lot of like homophobia.
yeah,
and, like-
there's a lot of words that he throws around very
Yeah.
casually.
And like I think the thing is like if you were a teenager who grew up in like late 2000s, early 2010s, or really I think any time, like he was saying shit that like you would hear at school anyway. Or like maybe if you were around the like right types of kids, but like it's not like he was saying anything that was so shocking. You're like, I can't believe anybody said this.
Right, he's not.
It's more like
he's not deflowering the children.
Yeah,
He's
it's-
if anything reflecting what like teenage.
just
culture was like.
yeah. Like think back to when you were in high school. What did like the kids around you who were like there were always kids that were like trying to just say outrageous shit on purpose to shock people. He was just doing that, and it's not anything. If anything, I thought it was funny that the adults or whatever, the mainstream media was like, "Oh my god, he's like, terrible for the children. What are the children listening to? He's a crazy maniac raping women and shit. Like,
Right.
it's just funny if you're a kid.
Well,
Because
yeah,
you
I
know
mean,
that's like, you know that's not what he's talking about.
right, as a kid, it's like a different thing. And maybe it's not. I don't think it was as terribly apparent on this album as maybe like his next album, Goblin. But like, I mean, there is a lot of similarities to what he was doing to like Eminem in the way that he
Yeah.
kind of like shocked people into.
Yeah, and it was definitely Eminem was definitely an influence on him. But so what would you say about the album in general, like quality wise? You say it's okay. Like, what are some highlights on the album for you?
So the actual highlights on that album for me are the intro song "Bastard," and I think it's when he's here talking about like he has like this fictional character which is like does he have it in that song, the psychiatrist? Does he have it?
Yeah, the psychiatrist is in that song.
Yeah, and it kind of establishes who Tyler. What Tyler tends to do with his songs. He has all these characters that he plays off of. He's always talking about how his own personal problems. He's like obsessed with his dad, who he's not able to know. And it's just a different take. I don't know. That song itself kind of like expanded, I think, what people knew you could do with hip hop. Like, I mean, I'm sure maybe some other people might have tried it, but like for him to like. I don't know. I think he kind of like pushed.
Yeah, and I remember specifically like hearing that song, and I'm like, this is rap too, like, because like it's if it as a kid, especially in like the mid 2000s, like all you're hearing is like that kind of like rap that was going on at the time, and then you hear this, which is like just a minimal piano, somebody rapping over that, and then like Simps coming in every now and then, like.
Right. And instead of saying, like, yeah, I'm the greatest in the world, he's basically saying, hey, I'm fucked up. Like,
yeah.
And, like, that's just not, up to that point, it's just not something, like, you really, like, heard all that often in hip-hop. And, so, I mean, that song is a highlight for me. The other song that I really would actually call a highlight is Ass Milk, which features Earl Sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's like the tone of his voice or like the way that he raps. Earl kind of reminded me of like Nas a little bit. Whereas like let's say like Tyler, sometimes he kind of reminds me of like MF Doom, especially like in
Tyler
his
the Creator
stuff.
does. Or, yeah.
Like I don't know if it's a production or like his vocal delivery style.
Well, yeah, both Earl Sweatshirt and Tyler the Creator have like professed a love for MF Doom.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he was definitely like an influence on him, and like definitely on Earl Sweatshirt, and like the type of rapping Earl Sweatshirt would go on to do is definitely Doom inspired heavily. Where I think with Tyler it's less so, but it's there. But I mean,
Tyler also does have like all the characters that like we've talked before about like MF Doom's like alter egos that he has. And then just to kind of wrap it up, I mean, I wasn't like huge on the skits that he has like kind of going throughout. I think that song itself, like they like started like having like a fight in the middle of the song.
Yeah, him and Earl like get in a fight in the studio or whatever.
You're just kind of like, I mean, it has a little character, but you're just kind of
I always hated that part because I love the song, but then in the middle of it, it just stops to do the stupid shit, and I'm like,
right.
I just want to hear the song.
Right, exactly. So there's a lot of things that are like kind of a little bit distracting.
But yeah, but this song also I think typifies like early Odd Future, especially early Earl and Tyler, because it's like them going back and forth, rapping back and forth, basically mostly about raping people and like shit like that, and it's just like it's like if you think about like what do most rappers rap about, it's usually like them bragging about how great they are or bragging about whatever.
Yeah.
What they tended to rap about is like how great they are at raping people or just trying to say the most shocking shit, like
right. It was just that it definitely just like over the top. Some people compare them to horrorcore, but they don't really talk about like murder that much.
Yeah, it's murder and rape. It's not horrorcore. I don't.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't call it either.
Actually, I think Goblin would be considered more, but like we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Like, but like this also has like it has those elements of that, but he also has like a real childish side that comes off in I think songs like Parade. Can you pull up the track list real quick?
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, songs like Parade where he's talking about like, oh, I don't want to grow up. Like, there's a lot of like that aspect of like I don't want to fit into this society. I don't want to grow up and just have a job, go to college. You know, you guys have just like you're all lame adults and you're just growing up too fast and all that shit. Like
Yeah,
that's
it's all
really what
relatable
this
stuff.
teen angst like boils down to is like I don't want to grow up.
Right. I mean, I think overall, I wasn't super impressed by the album. I wouldn't really go back to it very much. I think maybe the only two other songs that I thought were kind of interesting were Seven and Inglorious. But
What about VCR/Wheels? Because that's a major highlight for me. And
I remember like when I listened to it, I made it like a mental note about it, but I don't. It wasn't enough for me to like write it down. Really.
yeah, and I think that's another. I think that song is really the direction that he would end up going in, is because it's more like kind of slower, more jazz R&B inspired kind of shit.
Yeah,
And
there's like some roots of like what like he would.
yeah,
come
and
up
he's
with.
always had stuff like jazz R&B stuff in like in his beats because he's playing the piano on them, and he'll put like jazzy chords and things, but like that'll really shine through later in his later albums.
Right. But I mean, I already talked. The production was a little bit on the lower side. Also, I noticed there's like no hooks on the album. There's like no memorable like
Yeah.
hooks. I mean, yeah, the rapping is like I would say like good for like a starting point. But he curses. I mean, he curses a lot anyways. But like in this album, he's cursing so much that is like distracting, and it really
But I
seems
think that's
like
the way that like an 18-year-old, that kind of 18-year-old talks.
yeah,
Like
but
it's not
it just seems like he's using it as a crutch for somebody who doesn't know
words.
words. Yeah, like you can't just say fucking for every other adjective that you're trying to like describe something. Like
And you could, and then you just
I mean, he
become
does, but
and then you
like
become a very popular and famous rapper.
right, but like I mean, there's just all these different things kind of makes me go like. Most of this is just like whatever. It's just like well today we might consider like a
Yeah.
band camp.
Yeah, and
Right.
I think like yeah, because at the time I think this was more interesting than it is now because there wasn't a lot of stuff like this.
Yeah, but like I
But
mean I think when most people think of Bastard, they just think of like shock of like yeah the rape and the homophobia and like the also like the childish like aspect of it and all that.
yeah, I still really like it though.
Sure.
It's still one of my like. I think this is some of his. I don't know if it would be some of his better rapping. I think he's rapping well on here. I think the beats are good on it. I think it's just like a good like first album.
I can go with that. I think it's like yeah. I would just say it's like a good starting point. Definitely has a lot of fans even to this day. But I even though I don't like how long it is, his follow up I think would be like in my opinion a fantastic improvement on everything.
I
it was
completely disagree. So let's go.
Let's go to it. So this next album we're gonna talk about is Goblin, released in 2011. His first actual studio debut with XL Records, I believe. And in Goblin, also has his breakthrough single, the one that really put him on a large scale map. It was Yonkers was the single, and even to this day, that's one of his biggest songs.
And I think it's also a great song. It has kind of the production that you would come to expect from Tyler the Creator to this point. Kind of minimal, dark, has some of those jazzy chords in there, but like it's not really prominent. And just him rapping about outlandish stuff. But I think. Do you think the thing that really propelled it was the video?
I didn't see the video myself.
Oh, really?
Yonkers was. I mean, this is when I first got to know Tyler. Was with Yonkers. That song was just big, and like I mean, if anybody was gonna tell you about him, that's the song that they will like
Yeah.
try to introduce you with.
The video is also pretty like big because like he eats a cockroach in the video, and it's kind of like doing a lot of dark, weird stuff. It's kind of like moody, angsty looking video. It's
It
like
is
black
moody,
and
yeah.
white.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean the mood over here, especially at the start of the album, it does seem slightly more horrorcore and that it has like a
Yeah.
spooky vibe.
Well, let's talk a little bit about like what was happening with Tyler the Creator around
Okay.
this album, because so Bastard, the album, got picked up. He released that. It kind of got picked up by the media, music websites, music blogs. This was kind of like not the beginnings, but like, maybe like the beginnings of the big rise of like music blogs and music websites having a big sway into what music becomes popular. Would you agree?
Uh, sure. I don't know. I mean, like Pitchfork had been around for a decade at that
Yeah.
point.
But
Uh,
like, I don't remember a lot of bands in the early 2000s and shit, or mid 2000s, like becoming just this big off of just being on the internet and not really like a huge major label backing or anything.
yeah. I mean, at this point, it was still like largely unheard of for people just generally to be to get started on the internet. I mean, like maybe like Justin Bieber was one of the few people at the time. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, no, I mean like it was still pretty early in the days of like internet discovery phase.
yeah. So, through the strength of Goblin, he got picked up by a major label, and all of Odd Future did. And the other biggest member of Odd Future, the second biggest, or really on par with Tyler, is Earl Sweatshirt. So everybody was really excited to see what Earl Sweatshirt would do, what his album would be as well. But at this time, he got shipped to Samoa by his mother because apparently his mother said that she was like afraid of what he was becoming, kind of thing. Like he was getting into a lot of trouble. I'm not really sure about the specifics of it, but if you listen to what he raps about, it's a lot of stuff about doing drugs and
Yeah,
you
but
know
I mean, this isn't an episode on Earl Sweatshirt.
yeah. So but it's very important, at least at this early point. Earl Sweatshirt and Tyler Creator were like kind of like brothers. Like they were really really close. And if you listen to the album, like you can hear how much he misses him. Like he
Sure.
brings it up.
Yeah, he brings it
And,
up like in several songs on this album.
like because and the rise of Odd Future, Earl Sweatshirt was absent for all that. He was in Samoa for 2 years, which during the rise of them being signed, them getting super big and all that. And so like Free Earl became like a mantra for Odd Future fans, and he'd scream it throughout all of this album. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So that was his state of mind at the time. I mean, this album. I mean, he's really. I guess one thing about it that like maybe in comparison to Bastard is a little bit worse is that a lot of the ideas that he brings to this album he already exercised already on Bastard, and so like maybe he gets a little bit deeper into it in some songs, but he's also like surprisingly also has a lot of awareness of his own place in saying these things. Like he in several songs he says like I'm not a role model, don't do what I say, blah
Yeah,
blah blah.
I think a lot of the songs he was just responding to the backlash that he got.
Right.
Because maybe he wasn't expecting for people to be as offended by the shit that he was saying, that maybe he thought people would be in on it or something, or maybe he thought like they wouldn't be as offended as they were, but
Right. I mean like I can't even look. I've been in that situation before as well. Like where your audience doesn't understand where it is that you're coming from.
well, because the thing is like he was doing it for shock value.
Right.
But maybe there was a part of him that thought like
Well, this is
people
obviously
will know it's not. I'm not serious, but
Right.
like at the time, I think people were like, "Oh, is he actually a rapist? Is he actually
right.
like
I mean,
a
he's
homophobe?"
18 years old. Maybe he didn't think like
It's
people
like,
actually were legitimately this violent or this misogynistic, etc. But I mean, I don't know. I guess as I've gotten older, at least myself, I've gotten to know that like yeah, no, people definitely do get to some weird dark corners.
and also as me myself, a lot of people also don't know when you're joking.
Right.
Like I've had times where I say jokes and people are like, "Wait, are you serious?"
Right.
And I'm like, "No, I'm clearly not gonna like jump off a building or something." Like it's a
Right.
expression.
I mean, and sometimes even if you are joking, you never know if like
Yeah, it might trigger.
yeah, if it's triggering, or even if you like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's like, oh man, it's just a joke, man, but like we really like,
and also
actually
that
do
kind of sensitivity to like people's triggers and stuff was definitely not present in 2009.
yeah, it was definitely less. Yeah, if you ever go back to the 2000s, you'll find that there's less the trigger was definitely
My God,
a
sometimes
lot
like
looser.
I'll go back to like I'll watch stuff from the 2000s and I'll be like, people were allowed to say this stuff on TV,
Right, exactly.
like, but yeah, but talking about just the music on this album, I like Goblin a little less because I think the production value of it increased.
Got
Like
so much better.
it
Yeah.
sounds better, but I think the music became less varied. Like Goblin is more totally dark. I think like
It
the
is. It
the
is more totally
sounds
dark.
the sounds are more. This one I would call more horrorcore
Yeah,
than
I would
Bastard.
agree. I would agree with that take. I don't think it's less varied. I mean, and maybe if it is,
Because
it's in a sense that it's still interesting. Because
Bastard had a lot of songs that were like lighter sounding, like where it was
sure,
like the beats weren't as dark and like maybe even more fun at times, and they were still rapping outlandish stuff, but it was over like funner production where it
Right.
wasn't totally like.
Now,
In this album, it
Goblin's
sounds like
definitely darker.
yeah, it sounds like he leaned into his character where he's just like, okay, you think I'm a rapist? Fine, I'm
Yeah,
a
but
rapist.
the
Look
album
at
is
me.
called Goblin. It's, I mean, that's not goblins are usually not.
And he even
very
has a
nice
song. What's the
creatures.
song where he's like Dracula?
Yeah, he does talk about like Transylvania as a song. And that's I mean that's one of the songs that I don't like.
He literally the hook is like I'm Dracula, bitch, or some shit.
Right.
Like what? It's, like some of this shit is so stupid.
He has
I'm like,
several songs on here that like are very explicit, like misogynistic. Like I mean, fish, bitch, suck, and
bitch suck dick.
fish suck dick.
He has
Sandwiches is also
There's a hidden track called "Boppin' Bitch."
Oh, that's it. And then there even Troncat, which like Troncat and Transylvania thought had like a good mood or a good beat going for them, but like I just the
Yeah.
lyrics on there were just like no man like
That was the thing that was my biggest issue when I was listening back to Bastard and Goblin. Is like when I was a kid, I didn't care about the lyrics. Like I thought they were funny or something. But now listening back to them, I'm like, really? Like, do you have to do you have to rap this much about rape? Do you have to like have this much homophobic slurs in there? Do you have to like why?
right
Even
And-
because when he does have songs like I think She is the one with Frank Ocean on it, and that one still has like it's I wouldn't say misogynistic. Well, I guess there's misogynistic lyrics, but it's coming from the perspective of like somebody who's obsessed with a woman, so it's kind of
Right.
more of a
Yeah, I
character.
mean, it's still not like a healthy.
It's not. It's definitely not a healthy thing, but like there's a perspective to it. It's not
Right.
like somebody just saying outlandish shit to be outlandish. It's like he's building a character.
Right. No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I know that like he might say like, oh, these are all characters and stuff, but like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna go out of my way to really like to excuse him from any of this. I mean, at the end of the day, like this just no, like it's this. I think this is like it was a turnoff for me then, and it's still a turnoff for me now. Some of these songs being so.
But I do kind of want to like emphasize the childish nature that he still has in his music, because like I think a lot of people look at like that rape and shit side and don't see like that. Like She, I think, is a perfect example. Just sounds like a teenager who's obsessed with a girl, and like Analog, the song with Haji Beats. It's like
Yeah.
it's one of the nicer sounding songs, and it's really just about like, oh, I want to take this girl to the lake, and I want to like sit and watch the stars with her and stuff. But like, it sounds like a little teenage romance thing, like a fucking Wes Anderson movie or something.
Right,
Like,
right.
and like he has a lot of stuff like that, and like I think he kind of buries that in his first couple albums. Not so maybe not bury, but like kind of gets overshadowed by his shock factor that he's also trying to do at the same time.
Right, and I mean, I do appreciate that he does try to be like. I think over the course of his career, you kind of get to see him being more and more accepting of who he is. I mean, in some ways more obvious than others, but like over here, a song that kind of stood out to me was the song "Her." It's also about a girl, but like it's from the point of view of like being like the friend, and like he's like jealous of like her boyfriend,
Yeah.
and then he's like excited now that they broke up, but then he doesn't make a move fast enough, and then she's suddenly back together with him again, and like it's a little bit like the way he's like putting it out there is like very. it kind of just shows like how much of I guess of a loser he is, like how much of like self-deprecating
Yeah, it's
thoughts
probably
he
like
has.
the way he felt when he was a teenager in high school. It's
Right. Well,
probably
even
like,
at this point, he's only 21 when like he's
yeah.
or 20 when he's making this music. So I mean that one I thought was a little bit more I guess maybe relatable from like my teenage experience. But I mean the things that I actually do like about this album, he's pushing in different directions. There's an instrumental at the end, AU 79, which I
Yeah.
think was a great addition to the album.
Did you like that? Because I didn't like it.
I like that one, yeah.
I think it was just boring. Like, I didn't think.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't think it added much to it. It was kind of filler when an album that's already overly long.
It
Like,
is
adding an
overly long,
instrumental for no
but
reason. Like,
but I mean I don't think that's what's making the album drag. I think what's making this album drag
yeah.
are like
You could have cut out a
all the
bunch of
stupid
songs.
songs about like bitches sucking dick. And
Tron Cat I hated. You could have cut that out. Transylvania I hated. If I remember, I think Nightmare was good.
I did like Nightmare, but like I liked it just good enough. The other songs I liked beyond Yonkers and She, which are like those songs are still like staking
Yeah.
out points. I mean Frank Ocean kind of makes She,
Yeah, he was great on there.
but I mean I like Goblin as an intro song, even though it's a little bit too much like sputtering around.
Also,
But I
and
guess
it's like
we're not the type of people to really be able to complain about talking too much about something.
like
But
our first 10 minutes about cheese.
right. But I remember liking Golden, which is the closer, the album closer, and also I didn't like the first half of Window when all these other features are in there.
Yeah.
But I did like the end of Window because all of a sudden he goes into character. He's like
Yeah.
murdering all his friends, and then in Golden
this-
he murders his.
Yeah.
He reveals that this therapist that he's been talking to the entire time, is his own conscience, and then he like kills his own conscience.
Yeah,
I think. Is
and
what
I
it
don't
is.
think we mentioned really. I think we mentioned it a little bit, but didn't overtly say that like Bastard and Goblin are really tied like thematically. Where
Yeah.
Bastard has a therapist going throughout the album, where it's like I think in the story of the album is that like he was kind of forced to go to this therapist because he was acting out, and he's telling him all his thoughts, which is the album. So in Goblin, it's like the continuation of the therapist, and he's kind of talking to him about his new problems, about his struggles with his newfound fame and people hating him for his lyrics and his stuff and missing Earl Sweatshirt and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So this also structurally, I think this album and Bastard are really similar.
Yeah,
in
they're
the fact
very
that-
tied together.
Yeah, where like Bastard, the title tracks of each are very similar structurally. Songs, they're both kind of minimal, both kind of just like stream of consciousness talking about themselves. And there's also the posse cut things like Bitch Suck Dick on this one, and what's the other song on the other one? Like I think Tina was the name of it, where it's like he gets his friends on there who aren't even rappers to just start screaming about random stuff, and songs are really stupid. And
Right, those songs are usually. I mean, especially as you move on, those are the worst cuts on some of the other
yeah,
albums.
but then also the album ends with it's the first and last songs on the albums are the ones that are like really, I guess, character driven or story driven,
Right.
where it's like that's where the therapist shows up and he's talking to the therapist and stuff.
Right.
And I think Wolf also to a
Well, why
lesser
don't
degree
why
is
don't you
tied
like
to it.
Wolf? Is like.
Why don't I like Wolf?
Or like, why do you like it less than Bastard? Like,
Why do I like Goblin less?
Oh yeah, why do you like Goblin less than Bastard?
A Goblin is, I think I like it less just because it's less varied. Where it has one tone, it's like the whole thing is dark,
I really
and I
disagree
think
with
this
you
has
on
more songs that are bad than Bastard does. Bastard, I like the majority of Bastard. I don't like the majority of Goblin.
I would say Bastard. It was hard to pick out a song that I disliked on Bastard, but I think the majority of Bastard I thought was honestly I thought it was boring. I didn't care for it at all.
That might
honestly.
be my nostalgia then coming in,
Right.
because like going back to it, if the first time I heard Bastard was like now, I probably would be on the same boat. But since I heard it in like 2010 or whatever,
Right.
like I kind of just remember that like first hearing it and stuff.
Yeah,
But like
I don't know. For me, like Goblin has better production, better flow, better lyrics, and
half the songs on here are shit. What are you talking? Transylvania is complete shit.
I mean maybe some of the
Tron Cat is
content.
complete shit.
Maybe some of the content
Because the
is
beats aren't
is
even
bad.
good.
What as compared to Bastard?
Yes, Bastard had better beats.
No,
They
I don't think
the
Bastard had better
production,
beats. I thought the beats were better on here.
the
on Goblin.
production on Goblin is better, but the actual music is worse. The actual
I don't think
ideas
so.
musically.
I don't think so. I mean, I like Transylvania and I like Troncat. I like the beat on Troncat. I like the mood that they were setting, for those songs. Maybe I'm more of a fan of like that horrorcore thing that he was trying to go for, but I thought it was more interesting at least.
And it's also like way goofier.
Yeah, I don't know.
So yeah, I mean,
Alright, we're gonna-
I don't like Goblin.
Oh, he doesn't like Goblin, but we're gonna move on.
Right before we go on, I think Goblin probably does have higher highlights. I think Bastard is more straightforward, a good album, where Goblin has like the highs are higher and the lows are way lower.
There's some songs that I definitely would not think he would have gone for, by his second album. Yeah, songs that I thought that he would have grown past after his first album. But okay, we're gonna move on to Wolf now, to kind of carry things through. Wolf came out in 2013. It's I guess for starters, the album cover is a meme. So there's that.
Yeah, and I think by 2013, Earl Sweatshirt has come back.
He has that's when he releases.
Earl was freed.
Yeah.
And
he's on his album.
He is
So
on the album. He has a very short feature. And I think really this is like in the time frame of Odd Future, I think this is like the start of the dissolution of Odd Future.
I mean, Odd Future was still there. I think it was like the threads were starting to fall.
It was starting to fall apart. Like Earl Sweatshirt came back, and I forget when he released his first album, Doors. It was either 2012 or 2013. Yeah. So, and like, if you listen to Doors and you listen to this, you can already see the divide in their sounds. Like they're going in complete. Whereas in the beginning they had the same sound, and then they went in completely different directions.
Sure, I mean that's kind of to be expected when people are working.
Yeah.
Semi-independently or independently, really. But let's see. How do I feel about this album?
And also, just to finish off, I think Bastard, Goblin, and Wolf are kind of like a trilogy, where they're kind of tied together structurally.
I mean, Wolf is not as tied. I mean,
it's the loosest one.
Goblin and Bastard, I think, are more tightly, closely together. But yeah, it's easy to see how Wolf would also fit with those other two.
Yeah, because like if you're gonna put it in terms of movies, to me, Bastard and Goblin are clearly like Goblin is clearly the sequel to Bastard, and it continues those storylines.
Okay.
Whereas Wolf seems like it has the same characters, but then goes off in a completely different direction.
Right.
It's kind of like an offshoot of that main story.
It kind of is. And I mean, I think that if I was to have any criticisms of this album, it would be mostly like, why does he still have this psychiatrist voice hanging around?
Yeah, when it's like a different so the conceit of this album, it's like a camp. Like this one is the most childlike album, I think, to me.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, the album cover kind of shows it a little bit.
Yeah,
but
and it's
he is trying to embrace a more. There's not even that much anger involved in this album.
There's not. Like it's more of that. Yeah, like young teenage,
juvenile. Yeah.
Like a summer camp.
But he's also like, I think he's nostalgic for that So it's not like he's living it. I think he's like looking back at it.
And I think
makes a difference
in terms of his life and that time. Maybe he was feeling nostalgic for that younger time because like at this point he's already been famous for 4 years or something.
Yeah, I mean.
So maybe he's like.
I think he's more used to the fame a little bit.
Yeah, and he might be like. Most people who get famous at some point like pine for a time when they weren't famous.
Right.
And like maybe this is him going back to like I'm gonna write a story about.
Yeah, was it in this album he was talking about like he doesn't even have time to skateboard anymore or something like that. Like,
yeah.
But yeah,
I think that was Goblin, but
it might have been Goblin actually when he did that. But I mean, those are the feelings that he's having. This is also in the time when like his show was actually going on. The
Loiter Squad on Adult Swim, yeah.
And like
there's a lot. He had a lot. He also like started clothing line, where he like had his like it was more like Odd Future merch, but it got really big. A lot of people bought it.
Right, but I mean he's generally like in a. This album talks less about his dad.
Oh yeah, we kind of just skipped over that whole part. Like Bastard and Goblin, every other song is like "fuck my dad." I didn't need him.
Here.
Oh, I didn't need him anyway.
Yeah.
Fuck. Oh, I wish I knew my dad, but fuck him anyway. Oh, who cares? Like
yeah.
That team.
I mean, nothing against like people without. I mean, nothing against bastards, but that's.
But Look,
it is a fact of life. Some people don't have.
Yeah, I'm sorry
one
you
of their
didn't know your
parents.
dad,
Yeah.
but like honestly, like if you're a teenage, like I mean, I grew up with my dad, so I can't
Right.
really imagine growing up without a dad. But like, I mean, imagine it's just a fucking hole sitting there.
Right.
That like,
I mean, actually, I did like a lot of the songs I like most from those albums were the ones where he talks more
Yeah.
explicitly about his dad. So I mean,
And
I can't
for-
even talk too much crap about it. Like,
yeah. So like, I can see why his first two albums like he would talk about not having a dad. Like that's a really important part of your life.
right.
So, but like, it seems like on this one he kind of started to get over it, even though the song "Answer" is mostly about. I think that's the song where he's kind of like coming to terms with it, where he's just like, that's the
I
last
did like
song.
that song.
That's probably, if not my favorite, one of my favorite songs on the album, and that one's where he's explicitly. I think that's probably his last statement about his father.
Okay.
Where he's just like, "Fuck my dad, but if I call him, I hope he answers." That
Yeah.
was really like. And like that was,
hope you
I think that's
answer.
really, yeah, and I think it's really touching and like
You know,
emotional.
that one reminded me of like one of those like 90s like conscious rap like not exactly a ballad but like it's got like an R&B flow to it and
Yeah,
like
the beat on it I love, and
Yeah.
there's actually more guitar on this and it's like not like super proficient guitar, but like you hear like guitar strumming and like guitar lines on there.
yeah, I mean, well, this whole album, I think you really start seeing. To me, it's like where you really start obviously seeing that like
Yeah.
he likes R&B, he likes soul music.
Yeah, like where it was just like really in the background, like influence. Now it's coming forward, especially in a song like Tree Home. What
Yeah.
is it? Tree Home
Yeah,
'95.
with
that one
Coco
have,
and Erykah Badu.
yeah, the fact that he got Erykah Badu on it.
Yeah, exactly.
And-
Yeah, and everything. That was one of the things that really like caught on to back then. I was always like, well, what is? I mean, this guy's hated by so many people, but why do people like Erykah Badu and Frank Ocean like to work with him?
Yeah.
So I mean, like, and Pharrell's in this album too. I mean, people talk about how much he's influenced by Pharrell, but like, I mean, the fact that these people work with him always kind of like let me know that like even though he's probably not the greatest of people, I mean,
There's
like,
something to him.
there is something to him that's not as bad as like he's probably depicted by. He's not like. He's not really worth like outlawing from going to England. At some point, he was prevented
Yeah.
from going to England.
But so like you were saying about Goblin, the production value got up from Bastard.
Yes.
But I felt like musically it kind of stayed in one mode, and I didn't really like that.
Yeah.
Wolf kept the production value high and also kept the music. It raised the music back up too, where it's a lot of varied, different sounds.
No, I agree with that. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean like, if let's say like to me, production wise, let's say Goblin went from a 4 to a 6 in terms of like production quality. Over here is definitely taken to like a 10 or something like that. Or
Yeah.
like it's just over here he definitely focused a lot more on like creating more interesting sounds in the music.
And I think it's just really like, and I think from this point he just keeps, to a degree, just keeps getting better, like evolving his musicianship and his sound and stuff, and like he really, progresses that part of himself. And this I would say Wolf is probably my favorite of the trilogy.
Of those early albums.
Yeah, like
I would say so too. From a listener's perspective, but but like from the perspective of like being able to talk about it or like the personality it has, like it's not quite as memorable to me.
This has, I think, some of his best songs. Period.
It has a lot of good songs. I really like Jamba, near the start of the album with Haji Beats, and I like, surprisingly enough, I really Jamba's like a
It's one of the more upbeat.
yeah,
like,
that one's like what's it called?
it's like
it's-
more straightforward rap. Like it's kind of got like a upbeat. Like the beat is more driving, kind of upbeat rap beat, and then like more interesting rapping kind of thing.
It's just heavy hitting. It's
heavy hitting.
And I also like the second to last album, the last song, Tamale. I thought that was like, I borderline didn't like it, but it was just it like hit me just in the right spot where I was like, okay, this is kind of funny. It's kind of interesting.
It's really fun. Like that's the level, like where you're talking about him just being stupid and doing like stupid outlandish stuff. Tamale is kind of like the acceptable level of it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it doesn't go too far into that.
I would say that's a good level.
Even though
And-
this album does have Trash Wang, which is
Trash Wang. trash song. Really,
it's the last of his like posse cuts where he just gets people to say stupid shit.
yeah. No, that song it would be like the one that I would definitely like cut out of the album.
Even though I didn't like Tree Home.
You didn't? I mean, Tree Home was not like my. Honestly, a lot of the songs in this album are not like my favorite. Even though I like where he was heading, yeah, a lot of his more R&B inflected songs.
They was like
they tend to maybe bore a little bit. Like I don't know.
To me, I don't think he became a strong enough songwriter yet to use them, and it felt like just detours where it's like it kind of felt like he just wanted to shove in an R&B song into this album that has nothing to do with that. Like because Tree Home is like 100% an R&B song, and it's like the only one in there that's like that. Like he didn't find a way to really meld it 100% with his music yet. Like it's kind of just it sticks out like a sore thumb, and it's distracting. And it's just a boring song. It does stick out.
Yeah, I can't disagree too much. It's definitely not my biggest sticking point. I'm not a big fan of this medley in the middle. I don't know why he has to make it a medley.
That's another one.
Even though I did like the Beamer part of it, but
the Beamer part is that's like if that song was by itself. Well, I don't know. The song itself is underdeveloped because it really just has one verse and then like Frank Ocean just like crooning over it. But I love the sound of that song. It's like I don't know, like it sounds like it's soaring or something. Like it's great.
Right.
And I remember when this album came out, I was like a big fan of Tyler the Creator, and I was like anticipating it. And like he had released like a snippet.
This was an anticipated album. I remember my friends were really waiting for it.
I think like the first single he released was Answer. I think he released the video for Answer. And like I heard that and I love that song. And then like at the end of that video there was a snippet for Beamer. Like just like a 30-second or 1 minute snippet, and I'm like, oh my god, that song's amazing.
Yeah, no, Beamer has a good beat too.
Yeah, and then like when I hear the full song, I'm like, oh, I mean structurally it's not that great, but it sounds great.
Right, right. Yeah, no, I mean.
Also, another highlight for me is 48, where he completely dives into a character where he writes from the perspective of a drug dealer. And he's like saying like drug dealer like this drug dealer character, like why he's drug dealing, like he wants to feed his family, he wants to buy stuff for his mom, he wants to pay his sister's rent, whatever. So it kind of like tries to humanize a drug dealer character. And he also has Nas on there, not rapping, but he's just kind of like Nas talking about like the 80s and 90s drug world in New York, and like it kind of just tries to humanize that crime figure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a it's a nice song. I would say like most of this album is like this is a listenable album. I think even though he probably still has some like rough moments, for the most part, I think anybody could really like get into.
This
Tyler
is
Creator from this point.
This is the most
it's accessible kind of to
accessible. This is the most accessible one, and also, I mean, it sounds like you're not huge on it. Like you don't really like it that much.
I like it. I just don't have much to say about it. It's
because this like it's also one of the. I think it's. I mean, at least to this point, it was his most emotional and like vulnerable album.
It was, yeah.
And like, I think that really comes through in the songs, and it's like a lot of them are very emotional. And
I think it's a good album.
And the last song in the album, "Lone," which like talks about his grandmother dying and like where he was when she died and stuff, and that was also emotional and moving.
The only things that I have to say are that there are some things that he should have let go that he didn't let go, and the album runs a little bit too long. Yeah, those are like my biggest things about it. But otherwise, like it's a good album. It's got interesting beats, interesting production to it, and
I would say this is
starting him on a more neo soul direction.
Yeah. Well, I think this is one of his best albums.
Okay. I don't know. I really have no strong feelings about this album.
Wow.
Yeah. No.
Because
like I know this is really bad for like our debating point of view.
In my head, this was like clearly like a top like moment for you. Like it's just surprising to me that you're just so like blah on it. Whereas to me, like Goblin was like bleh. And I'm like, this is like a clear, like, such a better album.
No, what do you mean? Like, what I mean is that like this album was very important in his career. I think this album is where the narrative starts changing on who he is as an artist. And like I think is yeah, I mean it like reinforces that he's a good producer. Um, the album's good. I would say possibly very good. But I don't know. It's
You don't have strong feelings for it.
I don't have particularly strong feelings for it one way or another. I like it. I enjoy it. I that's what I had to say about it. But it's not the kind of like it's not it's not shocking the way that like his previous albums were. It didn't like set off the like when you think about the Tyler the Creator being such an important figure in hip hop in the 2010s. This isn't the album that like
Yeah, the
does
reason.
it for me like for that.
Yeah, this isn't the reason why he became an important figure.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah, but I think it is a really enjoyable album, and like in my personal time, I listened to Wolf or at least some of the songs on Wolf more than the songs from both of those previous two albums.
Okay, fine.
It,
So we can move on to his next album. What is this one? Cherry
Cherry
Bomb.
Bomb. And now Cherry Bomb. I mean, I guess we don't know what each other's feelings are on it, but I know that on the internet, at least, it is a very controversial album within his fan base. Um, and I know that like somebody else, like Anthony Fantano, I think shredded to pieces when it came out. But my friend who's really into Tyler the Creator, he thought it was like a fantastic album when it came out. So I guess what's your take on?
To me, this is like a transitional album. It's kind of like, well, it has two different modes. It has very distorted, kind of lo-fi aesthetic, and then it has the R&B jazzy aesthetic. It
Yeah.
kind of goes between those two.
Right.
And it's a sound that he would go on to like mix together like in the songs into like more cohesively, where in this album it's just like one song will be hard hitting, distorted, and lo-fi, and then the next song will be like pristine R&B jazz.
This album, the way I would summarize it, I think has a lot of great ideas, but it has poor execution. Is
Yeah.
the way that I would summarize this album. It is, I guess going back and listening to this whole timeline, I would say both Wolf and this album, Cherry Bomb. I would put those two albums as a sort of transition.
Yeah. And listening back, like I think Wolf is also a transitional album, but I think it works way better as just an album
Right.
than Cherry Bomb.
Yeah, Cherry Bomb. It is a very strange album because he is trying out a lot more. He's no longer just limited to like these MIDI controllers that he was possibly using at the start.
Yeah.
Over here, he's actually using like I don't know, wider scope of different tools that he's using for his production.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I don't know if he's using it to the best of the abilities. I think the album honestly is kind of a mess. The mixing is kind of all over the place. Like there's a lot of elements that are way higher up in the mix than they should be. A lot of these songs you can't even hear like what the vocalists are trying to say. And
Yeah.
So like for a lot of these albums, I actually don't even know what the lyrics are even about. Cause
I think Cherry Bomb is the one where I'm the least clear about what he's actually talking about. But I think like when I do listen to the songs, I think this album is also the least clear lyric wise, where like he's kind of just talking about random stuff, he kind of like
he's very vague a lot of times when he's talking about
this
stuff.
this album is kind of like he doesn't really have any like he's not really vulnerable on it. He's not really talking about himself that much. He's kind of more talking about like, hey look, I'm rich, hey look, I bought this stuff.
Yeah.
Like
No, I mean I would say if anything, out of all his Tyler the Creator is generally known for being an unlikable person, and I will say this album is to me his least likable. His least
but
likable
not
persona.
not for being a rapist or anything.
Yeah,
just
no, I
for,
mean the
like,
rapist is pretty awful stuff, but like
he
at
also
least for
kind of
that-
stopped talking about that.
Right. He at this point he stopped talking about that, but like now he's like he started off his career. Now he's comes kind of kind of comes off as a hypocrite. Like he starts talking about at the start of his career how he's not listening to like all of that rap bullshit. Instead, he's listening to like Waka Flocka or whatever the hell he mentions in there. But but now over here he's talking about how much money he has and like how he has this convertible car that he
Yeah,
drives around.
and then but like he even mentions that I forget which song it is, but it's one of the songs at the end where like he even says like I can't believe I'm talking about cars and money or
Right.
some shit, and like he knows what he's doing because I think he got to a point where he's like, yeah, that's all I have now, which he'll talk more about on Flower Boy on his next album. But
Right.
like I think this is just like, what do you rap about when you're just rich and famous and you've been rich and famous for the past like what 10 years or whatever, like however
Right.
long it's been.
And I mean, I think he's just like a half. I think his album ultimately came off as a half-baked breakthrough. I mean, the song that everybody talks about a lot of times is "Find Your Wings."
I hate that
And
song.
"Find Your Wings," at first it sounds nice, but then you kind of like start digging into it, and like, there's not really. Are there any verses in the song?
Yeah, like
Like-
a lot of times, like that's the prime example I think of what he did wrong when he was doing R&B music. Generally on this album and the albums before this one, where it's just like he has an idea, but then it just meanders and it doesn't develop into anything.
Right, and like it's just super vague because like I think he's not allowing himself to be vulnerable enough to talk about what does he mean by finding your wings? What does he mean by keep the O's? What are like a lot of these things actually like mean? Like I feel like there's like emotion that he's trying to put into the song, but
Yeah.
he doesn't talk about that. Or like he's not willing to maybe accept it. I don't know.
Yeah.
You kind of read through and like I mean I guess this is the big shocker to most people is that he comes out as gay in his next album, but I think at this point he already knows that he's gay and like he
Well, you told me before a theory that you had about the song Slater on Wolf.
right
Where-
where it could have possibly he has a bike named Slater and I'm thinking like he might have named that bike after Christian Slater and like I mean I don't know if that's true or not but Christian Slater kind of matches
The description of the type of boys that he likes.
right like cause he likes somebody like River Phoenix. And,
What was it like? Blonde white kids, basically.
Yeah. I like to call it the. Did he call it as actually? I don't know. I mean, at this point, I don't remember where I got these things from, but like a golden retriever style of boy. But
I think he did say that in one
I
of
think
his
he
songs.
did say
I
that,
think
right?
he did.
Right. Sorry, I'm being a little distracted. There's a mosquito flying in the room.
I don't. Oh yeah,
A little bit of a
mosquitoes
distraction
are your
over here.
mortal enemy.
Yeah, it's,
But I think also an important part that we kind of skipped over about this album is that it's kind of he completely like leaves behind the whole Odd Future anything.
oh yeah,
like,
this is
there's-
like his first officially post Odd Future album. There's like I don't even know if there's any Odd Future people.
There's Sid, and she was never really officially Odd Future. I don't think she was kind of
Right.
like.
Like an associate. Of
Yeah, she was like Odd Future associate, but this is where he really goes on and like all the features are like non Odd Future people, and also he gets like big names. He got Kanye West and Lil Wayne to be on a song.
Oh, that's
and
another thing.
That's a highlight for me.
He has some influences in this album that I think are for the detriment of it. One, he has the song "Cherry Bomb." I like hate that song, and it's
not
like
great.
it sounds like he's trying to do Death Grips, but like not coming like
Okay, look,
not
okay,
not
this-
doing. First of all, not even having what Death Grips has, and like two, I don't know why he would even try to like be like Death Grips in the first place.
I mean, Kanye West tried to be like Death Grips.
Right.
So it was like a thing.
Right. But also Kanye West. There's like several songs on here like. Buffalo gives me some Kanye West vibes, and then obviously
Buffalo has a sample that Kanye West sampled.
Oh, really?
It was a Pusha T song. I forget which one. I think it was Numbers on the Board. But like it has the same sample on this. Like I think it was a clear because that song came out around this time. So I think that was a clear reference to that.
Right,
song.
and then like you go to the Kanye West line, and like I forget what song he's on here, but like I don't know.
Smuckers.
I'm of the belief that Kanye West, you know, his own music. We can talk about his own music, but whenever you put Kanye West on somebody else's song, I think he just makes it worse. I
I
do
think
not
Lil
like,
Wayne was great on the song though.
Lil Wayne is always great. Lil Wayne
No,
is
he's not.
great.
What are you talking?
As when he goes on other people's songs, Lil Wayne like like there's at least most of the
You're
songs.
completely insane.
Most of the
You
songs
are
that Lil
so
Wayne,
what are you talking about
whenever
right
Lil
now?
Wayne is featured in something, I think it makes the song better. But
You're
Kanye West, I think, makes it worse.
You're so wrong about everything you just said. You're like completely out of your mind. Lil Wayne
is a good rapper. Kanye
was a
West
good-
is a trash rapper.
Lil Wayne was a good rapper in like the early to mid 2000s. Lil Wayne is just like
He's
a
still-
fucking drug addict now that can't even say any words.
He, maybe I'm going to,
Lil Wayne was definitely a
he's-
better rapper than Kanye West ever was.
yeah.
But,
Well,
like-
that for sure. But like, I mean, maybe the content of his verses are not always the best. But like, Lil Wayne, like, he can't, like his delivery. I don't know. Maybe I like his delivery a lot.
But on this album, on this song, Smuckers, I think Lil Wayne actually did great, much better than Kanye West. But just leave the fucking mosquito alone.
Only to like bring him together. My point. There it is. I killed the mosquito. Okay.
Good job. Okay, let's talk about our fucking podcast.
All right.
Also, this album I would probably say is the worst Tyler the Creator album, but
No. I mean,
well, we can talk about that.
I can see that. I can see why you would say that.
We can talk
Yeah.
about which one's the best and worst at the end.
Right.
But but this does have some highlights to me and some interesting parts to it. The song Pilot sounds to me kind of like proto Igor, where it sounds like it could have been an Igor song if it was like produced a little better. It kind of
Okay.
has the qualities where it was like,
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate that song.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
and also I like the song "The Brown Stains of Dark East."
I did
Latifah.
not like that song.
I like that song only because that should have been a Schoolboy Q song. That beat, if Schoolboy Q was on that entire beat, that would have been fucking amazing. Cause I don't know, you don't listen to Schoolboy Q.
I don't know, yeah, no.
But like that is such a Schoolboy Q beat, and I'm like, just have him on the entire thing. Like Schoolboy Q has a feature on it, but like, if that was a Schoolboy Q song, that shit would have been amazing. But
I thought that song was probably most representative of like the mess of the production. Like
he was also trying to like, that was like, I think he made that for Schoolboy Q, because that is nothing like a Tyler the Creator song.
probably. Sure. The song on here that I really run with. Well, I did like Death Camp at the start. I thought that
Camp
was a banger.
good.
Um,
Yeah.
But
I think that was one of his better, like, distorted, hard-hitting songs.
yeah.
Because some of them, like, he has some songs where, like, the bass is so distorted and up front, it's just drowning everything out.
It does, yeah. There's a lot on here that he like kind of pushes too far. But like the song that I run with and I still run with is "Girl, You're Perfect, but You're Too Fucking Young."
Yeah. I gotta call the police on David, because that's...
Call the police. I don't know. That song is a gem. I mean,
okay.
It is a little
just
bit
the
creepy.
fact that you have,
It's
that
a
you
little bit
identify
creepy.
so strongly with the sentiment of that song is a little worrying.
It's also the fact that like nobody ever writes songs about this kind of topic, and it's relatable.
Kelly?
Not in the yeah, R. Kelly. It's relatable, but like
R. Kelly,
I'm not
this is a jam to R.
imagining.
Kelly. This is R. Kelly's favorite Tyler the Creator song, I think.
In my head at least, I'm imagining like. How old is he by the time this album dropped? Like 23?
20, yeah, something like that.
I don't know, 22, 23.
Mid-20s, something like
Yeah,
that.
I don't know.
He's probably talking about like an 18-year-old.
Yeah, he's probably talking about an 18-year-old. Yeah. I don't think he's talking about like a prepubescent woman.
Maybe
a
even
girl.
16 or something. No, he's probably actually talking about a 16-year-old, because I think he probably mentioned like
He might
this is
have. He
illegal.
might have. Yeah.
But
I don't
like
know.
22 to 16, like
Right, but like I mean, I think I can understand that, like being in your early to mid 20s and like having to interactions with people with like women who are like just a little bit too young. Like you don't really
yeah.
when you're younger you don't even have those moments, and like when you're older,
That's when
that's
you
not
actually
something
have
that
to
you
start,
really.
That's
should
when you
even-
actually have to start thinking like, oh yeah, she is too fucking young.
Right,
I gotta
exactly.
stop.
Right.
And then you have guys that don't care and are like,
No, I mean that's when things go downhill. I mean, like you just gotta express it and then move on with your life. You're kind of like there is a limit to what
Mm-hmm.
I can be looking at. I don't know. You got anything else to say about that album?
No. I mean, basically we kind of covered it. So we could move on to the
Right.
next album.
We'll move on to what I think is his best album. Is
And you're wrong.
his next album, Flower Boy, released in 2017. Still like seems like yesterday in my mind, but it took, to me at least, everything that Cherry Bomb was trying to accomplish and actually accomplished it.
Is
And
it?
it like it's like it actually flows well together. It's not like a disparate like assembly of like all these strange production styles.
Is this the first like Tyler the Creator album that you like listen to and
This is the
like,
first Tyler the Creator album. This is not the first Tyler the Creator music that I listened to.
but like the one that you actually enjoyed?
This is the first one that I enjoyed and that I actually like dug up. Like the one that like I really like savored this album. I mean, actually, it was my favorite album of that year, 2017. This is my favorite album of that year. Tyler the Creator's Flower Boy.
So yeah, whereas I think on Cherry Bomb, he it felt like to me he was kind of like running out of shit to rap about.
Yeah.
And I think it's because like I think you mentioned it when we were talking about it,
He didn't have anything to talk about. I mean,
or he didn't want to reach deep enough into like he
Yeah.
didn't want to talk about his full vulnerabilities. Where in Flower Boy, he's just like he just let everything go. He's
Right.
just like I'm gonna talk about everything.
This is a very personal album.
So like on Cherry Bomb, he was talking about like, oh look, I'm rich, I have all these cars and all this stuff, and then on Flower Boy he says, yeah, I have all these cars and all this money, but that's all I have, and I'm super lonely.
Yeah,
and I have no friends anymore.
He's got songs that were talking about how lonely he is, a 911 Mr. Lonely, but also like how bored he is all the time now because he has no friends. And those two songs I think are like some of the biggest highlights on this album.
Yeah.
And like his rapping is his the way he's rhyming, the way his flow of his rapping has like gotten a lot better by the time this album has come out.
I think everything about him musically, like including rapping and just music production, is like he evolved so much up to this point where this is where it's like this is a shining moment.
Right.
Where it's like this is where he became clearly a great musician.
Like on his earlier albums, I could just listen to him and I know what he's saying. Over here, you know, I can still get I still can get most of it, but like when you sit down and actually look at the lyrics, like there's stuff that you missed the first time around.
Yeah.
And like that to me is the sign of somebody who's like, yeah, he's actually like putting thought
Yeah,
into
this
his,
is like
his
him
verses.
like trying as hard as he can to make a good like he's really like trying hard like whereas a lot of the other stuff sounds like he's just like having fun at
Right.
parts and whatever. This is where he's like, no, I'm gonna make like a perfect album.
Yeah, no,
where
this-
I don't think this is a perfect album, but I actually like. So you mentioned that his rapping got a lot better, which I actually agree with, but I don't think there's enough rapping on this album.
I will agree that this is like we start seeing at this point like less like his rapping takes a backseat, which I don't think is a bad thing necessarily, because he like I mean nowadays we have been seeing a trend in the past few years of like a lot of this R&B / rap. What is it exactly?
Yeah,
music
the
coming
main,
out.
yeah, if like a new rapper coming out now, you basically are required to sing. Like you have to like sing and rap. There's not if you want to be like a mainstream rapper.
Right.
There's like every mainstream rapper is singing and rapping or doing a combination of the two where you're not sure if they're singing
you bring
or
in
rapping.
people who can sing. Like he has over here, Kali Uchis has a great presence. Estelle with her song Garden Shed. I thought those two songs I think were incredible in how he uses vocals, and then of course Frank Ocean, which is a mainstay in his music.
Yeah.
With Where This Flower Blooms. He does a good job at bringing in good singers to provide that tender sound and kind of
Yeah.
in between.
And another sticking point for me with this album is I think it sounds too clean.
It is a little clean.
It's too overproduced for me. It's like sterile at points.
I can see that, but I can't agree. Maybe it's because like that I think that the album is still tight enough that I'm not getting caught up in that sort of thing. There are a few songs that maybe drag a little bit.
I think the end is bad. Like the last third of the album, it just starts to drag.
I think that the song maybe Glitter runs on for a little bit too long, but I really like the song November. And then we talked about Lil Wayne before. Lil Wayne makes an appearance over here.
I liked his verse on this song too.
Yeah, and you know, there's no songs on here that I dislike. I actually like the ending of it, even though it's an instrumental. I know you're probably not crazy about the instrumental.
I'm not a fan. Honestly, in general, unless the instrumental is like great, I'm not a fan of an instrumental in the middle of an album.
I mean, this one's at the end of the album, but still,
Or just in an album.
It's it's not like obviously it's not a highlight, but like to me, it's kind of like just I don't know. You've just finished listening to this album, and at least to me, it's kind of like I'm laying in bed and like, wow, what did I just listen to? And then you're kind of just like floating, carrying along with this instrumental, and then the instrumental kind of like lays you back down
This is
to.
especially like I especially don't like an instrumental at the end of an album because I'm just like so you're listening to an album and then at the end you're just like it just plays an instrumental and I'm like
It's not just a random instrumental. It
I
flows
know
well from the
but
previous song.
to me it's like it just plays an instrumental and I'm like okay I guess I could stop listening now because it's just an instrumental, it doesn't matter.
I do not feel that way. If you don't have to listen to it if you don't want to, but like,
Are you offended now?
it's. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and like, I don't know. This is not the crusade that I want to go on, but
Yeah, okay, yeah, we don't have to talk about the instrumental thing. It's fine. I mean, look, I'm being critical on the album because I do think it's a great album. It's got a lot of highlights on it. 911, Mr. Lonely, that's an amazing song.
right.
Boredom, Garden Shed, See You Again is great. There's a lot of great songs on that. Who That Boy is
That Boy?
one of the
Oh,
more
goodness.
I think yeah, Who That Boy is you know, big hard hitting song on the album.
It is. I think it's one of the few like bangers on the album.
Yeah, and
Like
also
that.
there's one other one. I Ain't Got Time. That's another
I
like
Ain't Got
banger on
Time.
it. Yeah. Those are really the only two that are like
Right, but I did like. I mean, I think probably for people who are not like have not been into Tyler the Creator, they were probably like, "Oh wow, what is this banger that's coming? Like, what is this like aggressive sound that's coming out?" Or whatever. But
yeah, they didn't know anything about him when they
right.
listened to it.
No, but I like the. I mean, this album definitely is a little bit heavy on the neo soul, but I like that he keeps some of these bangers in. I think the diversity does keep the album flowing
Yeah.
without
Yeah,
allowing
no,
it to
the
become
album
too stale.
does have a good flow to it, and it's like, except for the last everything after everything after Dropping Seed. So last three songs, November, Glitter, and Enjoy Right Now today, I don't like those, and I tend to stop listening after Dropping Seeds. Honestly,
Oh man, you are missing something. Man, November is a very heartfelt song. Take me
just-
back to November.
kind of boring.
My
I
November
get
is this thing. My November is that. I don't know. November, like it's.
I do understand the message behind it, and I see that it's heartfelt. It's just not a song that grabs me. Like it's not.
I mean, it's
kinda
fair if it
boring to
doesn't.
me.
It is totally different from what he's done before. Um, you kind of. You kind of go like I don't know, I feel like once he's accepted the fact that he is gay, like all of a sudden he doesn't have to put up a front anymore and like.
And that's another thing. He does come out as gay on this album. Well, I mean,
I don't
I
even
don't
know
know
which
if you
song
could
in
even say
particularly.
it's like coming out
He
as
does.
gay.
He never says, "Hey, I'm gay."
but he
like,
says like,
there's one line where he says like, I don't know if he says, I don't know. He says something bored all day, like, "What's wrong? I'm not stupid. I'm bored," is what he says. Like, there's a pause and then he says bored.
yeah, there was a rhyme that like the rhyme should have said gay, but
Yeah.
like he said bored instead.
Yeah, he
and
like
that
has
was,
he has an obvious pause where he's just like, "I'm not gonna say it." Then he says bored, where
And-
obviously the rhyme would have been
But
gay.
there's more overt references where one of the songs, I think it's Ain't Got Time, where he says like, "I've been kissing white boys since 2004."
Yeah,
So that's like an overt thing that. And there was one song that was like a love song about a boy.
right.
I forget which one it is.
I don't remember at this point now, but
I think it might be When This Flower Blooms.
yeah. The one thing that like actually going into this album, I was a little bit on the I had my overhype alarms going off
Because
like,
everybody at the time when this dropped,
everybody hated Tyler. Well, I don't know if everybody hated, but like people hated on Tyler the Creator for the longest time, and his albums were always like talked down because of all his stuff that
there's
he would be.
definitely like a switch.
Yeah.
Where like when he comes out as gay, people were like, "Oh, that's what it was," and
Yeah,
then they're
and
allowed
then-
to like him.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden everybody's like lauding the amazing. How amazing like Tyler the Creator is, and part of me kind of goes like, what? So like, an artist has to come out as gay, and then like all of a sudden like your mindset about him changes, or like, I mean, I know with Tyler the Creator, there's like particular things about his music that like, I mean, it still doesn't make up for the fact that he's talking about raping women for so long, but
Yeah.
some of the homophobic stuff that he said before doesn't seem quite as bad because he's coping with like or trying to
But, I
realize
mean,
what he
does it-
actually is or whatever.
I mean, I don't know if he knew he was gay at that time or whatever, but does it make it less bad because the whole time he was just doing it for shock anyway?
Right.
So it's
Right.
like it doesn't really.
I don't think it was the point.
It doesn't change the purpose of what he was doing. It's not
Right.
like he literally hated gay people when he was doing that.
Right. So I mean, I don't know. I was kind of turned off by that. Like, but I mean, at the end of the day, the album's really good. Like I said, it's like it was my top album of
Yeah.
the year, my top album from Tyler the Creator, and it's even after listening through all of them like this, that still holds for me. All right. Should we move on then?
Yes.
His last album, the one that came out just last year, 2019.
And he won a Grammy for it.
He did win a Grammy for it. Was Igor. Igor. Just looking at the album cover, one is to me, at least to me, it seems like a reference to Grace Jones, her album covers.
You know what? I didn't get that because to me it just looks like Frankenstein. So it's the whole Igor
Yeah,
Frankenstein thing. But
I think
like,
that also is something he's looking for.
But you're right. It does have that angular Grace Jones.
Yeah, where like
look.
Where like you get scissors and you chop up the hairstyle to make it look more angular. But this album, at least within the camp, my camp that I'm from, there was a lot of pushback for this album. I remember when it came out, some of my friends were comparing it to the Madlib album that had come out at the time. I think Freddie Gibbs and Madlib.
Oh, Bandana?
Yeah. It came out roughly around the same time, and they were like, "No, that one's the much better album than this one." And they were like, kind of like, you know, that was the sentiment that was going on.
It's completely different types of music. But...
Yeah, it is completely different. First of all, this album, it would be a stretch to call it a hip hop album, at least from my point of view.
Yeah, I would honestly, I would probably just call it straight pop. Like,
yeah, it's got like a lot of like, it's got a lot of neo soul. Like, it's about as much of a rap album as a Solange album, I would say. Yes.
Sure.
And,
but I don't even think it's like that. Like, it's definitely got neo soul vibes and shit. But like, it sounds more poppy to me. Like, it does
have some pop moments, yeah.
Because like there were like, I think Flower Boy was more neo soul. Like, it had more direct elements of that. This sounds more like modern day pop, or like Tyler the Creator's version of modern day pop.
I get what you're saying. It's not too far. It's not like too far off from like the sound, but yeah, it's over here. It sounds more. Okay, maybe I should back up a little bit. This album over here. First of all, I hadn't talked about it before, but something I really enjoyed about starting with Cherry Bomb is that he actually started making his albums a little shorter. This album's at 40 minutes, 39 minutes actually, so it's shortest album yet. And
yeah, I prefer short albums in general because you know
same.
you don't need to listen to an album for an hour and a half.
Right. There's not like too much I can hate on this album. The things that I can't hate on are one, Kanye. Just get rid of Kanye.
Kanye had a good feature on this.
I didn't like it.
He had a good feature on it. He did. You can't say it was.
I can live with it.
It was on Puppet, right?
Right. It was on Puppet. Yeah.
He had a good feature. He wasn't rapping. He was kind of like singing. I like Kanye's voice on it. I like hearing Kanye.
I don't know. I think it was in Cherry Bomb. Where does he start talking about how big his dick is? And I'm like, I don't want to listen to a 40-year-old talking about how big his dick is.
That was on Cherry Bomb.
Yeah. No, like I don't know. Over here,
better than hearing him talk about Trump.
Look at me like being on the Kanye hate train. Like 10 years ago, who would have thought I would have been on this? But I don't like the. I also don't like the. I mean, I understand why he has it. I don't like the interludes that he has in this album. He has like
they're short.
They're short enough that you can ignore them, but like it's just a little bit of a sticking point where I'm like, I would have done without them.
Also, I think they're necessary because this album, I think, is the only one so far where he has a complete story from beginning to end.
He does, yeah. It's not his only album that has like a whole. Well, I mean, Tyler's pretty good at creating albums that you know, they're all wrapped up together in some way.
But basically, every song here, like, progresses the story in some way. There's some that don't, like maybe one or two, but basically, it's a concept album. Like, it's a
breakup album.
Yeah, but it's a very tight concept album where it's clearly about this one relationship, and it's also clearly a gay relationship.
Yes.
And where Tyler...
Yeah, I mean, a boy is a gun, I think, pretty clearly makes that clear. But, I mean, he's also has... he comes back with another character over here, the character of Igor, with his Igor's theme at the start. And, like...
I love that song. I don't... Like,
actually, I came around to it. I did like that song.
I'm a sucker for just hearing that distorted synth going. and then you just get those hard drums, I'm in. I don't give a shit what's after that.
I think that he let it go on for a little bit too long.
No, I'll hear that for an hour. I'll just hear that sound straight for an hour looped. I'm fine. That's all I need.
But I mean, actually, that song actually. So if that song had been on an earlier album, I think it would have been like, maybe so to the detriment in some sense. But like overall, my biggest what you were talking about earlier, I think comes true for me in this album. There is too little rapping in this album. There's not enough verses.
There's less rapping on.
That's not true.
On Flower
this
Boy.
Is the album that has the least verses on it.
Flower Boy has less rapping.
I looked through. There is only what is this like?
Oh, you counted it?
I counted how many
you
albums.
Engineer?
How many
what
songs,
are you doing? You
how many songs? Only half the album has any rap verses at all. There's songs on here
Which
that don't have.
Hold on. Which songs don't?
They don't have. Yeah. Well, Igor's Team doesn't have any rapping in it. Earthquake doesn't have any rapping on it. And towards the end, what is
Playboy Cardi's
I Don't
on
Love You
Earthquake.
Anymore and Are We Still Friends? I mean, Are We Still Friends actually is my least favorite track on this whole album. I don't know if you feel any way about it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Because
But
Are We Still Friends sounds like he's trying to do like Al Green, but like Tyler, I don't know if I don't know if you've realized this already, but like
he's not a great
he's not a singer. He's like, I mean, I appreciate when people put out their voice, to like make, keep an album their own.
No, you know what?
Like, I'm
remembering it now. I like that song. You can go fuck yourself.
Oh, that song sucks.
That's good. That's a good song. There's one song, I Don't Love You Anymore. I think that's probably my least favorite. Yeah, that one's kind of like
I can do without that song.
But I like that. That's like, look, his singing's bad, but he's trying really hard. Like you can hear the emotion in his voice. Like,
look, I've gotta bring out my Simon Cowell over here. That like, I can handle singing to a certain degree, but Are We Still Friends is a soul song, all green style. You only have that style to present a voice. Like, you don't.
Do you like it when Kanye sings?
Not all the time. Not all the time. Sometimes I do. Like, Runaway I thought was a great song that has its voice in it. But
that has his voice in it. All his songs have his voice in it.
Look, these are not great singing voices.
I know.
Like they have a place. They have a
like,
place in the music, but like
okay,
for him to try to carry that song.
You might have
with
a
his
point.
Voice is
yeah. You might have a point in that. I think when somebody has a weak voice, and they know it, they might make up for it with the emotion in their voice. Where I think Kanye West does that, and like. If you think of like indie rock, I think Flaming Lips do that. Like, what's his name from Flaming Lips? He can't sing for shit,
right?
But he puts a lot of emotion into his voice.
Right. So exactly,
like,
yeah.
So
no, I mean like no,
I don't think Tyler really does. Like, I think he tries, and I think it worked for me. I think it works well in Are We Still Friends? I guess for you it didn't.
Yeah. I think there are points where like it does actually come through. Yeah. But Are We Still Friends is just one of those songs where I'm just like, no. This is where I draw the line. Your voice is not good enough for this song. Like,
okay, but for me, this is clearly his best album, like by a big margin.
Oh, you feel that way?
There's no bad songs on here except for I Don't Love You Anymore, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad song. I think it's just the weakest one on the album.
Well, this podcast just got like 10 minutes longer. Like,
and we can't afford that, but we're going. God. We're going.
This is his best album for you?
Yes,
like,
because this merges everything that he does well, where it gets it has R&B jazz sensibilities. It has his lo-fi distorted shit sensibilities that he was doing more on Cherry Bomb, and it has like his vulnerability. It has his good rapping. It has everything he does well.
It doesn't have his good rapping.
He raps on it.
He barely.
Does he rap on it?
Barely.
Yes or no? Hold on. Does he rap on it? Yes or no? Just answer that. Yes or no? Does he rap on it?
Rap exists on this album.
Okay, there you go. And he does it well when he does it.
He doesn't do. I think his rap verses on Flower Boy were better than the rap verses that he has on here.
They might be technically better, but the rapping serves a purpose here because he's actually telling a story front to back, and his songwriting is better. The songs on here are better.
I'm not gonna agree with that point.
Earthquake is amazing.
Earthquake, I think, is a good song, but like I don't think
New Magic Wand hits hard as fuck. It's great.
Look, to be honest, none of these songs truly stand out to me. The only song that does is Gone Gone slash Thank You. That song I think is amazing. But like all the other songs, I think they're good. They're very good, and they're very well produced, etc. But like, if I'm gonna go out there and like run with a song, it's gonna be Gone Gone slash Thank You. That song has like that, especially the Gone Gone. I mean, the thank you part is whatever, but like the Gone Gone part, it has like the like it it jams. Like that song is like, wow, oh that's good.
Is that the
That's
song
good.
where he has the verse where he's like saying like building a fence and he's like comparing his like the relationship to like building a house or whatever?
I can't say for sure.
I forget if it was that song or a different one, but that was a great like rap. Yeah, that's even like more complex than any of the other shit he's done on any rapping. Like when you're gonna say technical.
I wish the rest of the album had more of those moments in it. And like this album left me wanting more rapping from Tyler. More, I mean, yeah, there is some of that lo-fi like trashy like kind of production
Yeah,
that
and
he
it's
brings.
like him going back
And-
to his roots, where like those are the sounds that he had before. Where I think he was using them just out of necessity, but now he's like, no, I'm using them now because they sound good, and I think they sound good. That's why I think
No,
that
I do think that too. Look, this album I think is very good. Is a very solid album. Like I'm not gonna go ahead and take a dump on this album. It's not it's not Cherry Bomb, for God's sake. It's not Bastard, like
Bastard's good, and I swear to God.
But this album, it. I don't know. I think the second half I like better than the first half. The first half, it just has too many R&B songs that like it when it has that many R&B songs, my brain kind of switches to R&B mode. And for R&B songs,
How many
they don't
R&B
really
songs are on here?
well, like Earthquake is like a
That's
pretty,
a pop song.
well, yeah, call it what you want. It is. I mean, it's not a rap song. Is what I'm trying to get at. When I switch my brain to
hold
that
on.
mentality.
You shut up for 1 second. Igor's theme, that's an intro. Whatever. Earthquake, fine. That's a pop song, no rapping on
No,
it.
I mean I'm not hating on it.
I know, but it doesn't rap on it. I think that sounds like 808's Kanye to me. 808's and Heartbreak. But there wasn't really a lot of rapping on that one.
No, well, there's the rapping that there is on that song. It is very sing-songy.
Yeah, like 808's and Heartbreak.
Like
Kanye.
808s and Heartbreaks. Yeah, there's a few songs on there. I think Running also has Running Out of Time. Whenever he does quote unquote rapping, it is also kind of more 808 style.
New Magic Wand is rapping. A Boy Has a Gun is rapping.
New Magic Wand does have rapping.
I think Puppet is only singing, if I remember correctly.
There is some rapping in Puppet, but
all of these songs have some element of rapping in it.
Yeah, but like when you're rapping like 808 style, is it like it blurs the line of like what rapping is.
I mean, that's another debate for another podcast.
Right. But I just thought that there was like I just wanted more verses. They were like a lot of like there. You were complaining a lot about Flower Boy. There's a like there's. What was the word he said? Like I don't know if it was like
it was too clean. It was too like the production, or are you talking about specifically?
No.
Rapping?
Like you said that like Didn't you say that like it dragged a little bit or something?
Oh
or
yeah,
like,
it dragged at the end.
Yeah. To me, a lot of parts in this album tend to drag. At least for me. Where it's just like I don't know. Like there could have been more to like this album. I feel like. My criticism is coming from a place where like I hear it and like I can just hear how it could be more than what it is.
I don't understand you at all, because to me this is the most fully developed album he's ever made. This is the only album that there's a clear theme throughout every song. Every song is well written, and by the end of the album it makes a statement. It's fully developed as an album. There's nothing more I would want from this.
One, I mean, like the theme I appreciate, but I don't know. That to me does not make or break an album.
I mean, I don't think every album needs to have like a concept or a theme to it, but I'm saying that like this one does have it, and
it does have it,
and each song serves a purpose for that theme. where this is like a true concept album in that way.
Right, but like I don't know. I don't want an album that whose purpose it is to serve a theme.
And I also just like
if
the
it was
sound
up
on
to
it.
that, I'd be listening to progressive rock all day. Like
And you like progressive rock.
to some extent, but not for the theme aspect of it. Like I'm not, like there's progressive rock albums whose entire theme is like the Bhagavad Vita. Like
Do you
and
like To Pimp a Butterfly?
I do like to Pimp a Butterfly, but like the songs stand on their own. They're not just
and the
there to
songs
serve
on
a
this
theme.
stand on their own. I think this has the best songwriting of any.
And
Tyler.
I think it just has a lot of earworms. It has a lot of earworms, and it's good, smooth production. But like I think it's lacking in what I feel like is substance.
We're going around in circles. Let's wrap it up.
Okay, whatever. Well, we feel the way we feel about this album. It is a pretty good album still. You check it out if you haven't. But
A pretty good album. This is the best Tyler album.
it's not even like my top. It's not even in my top 10 of this past year.
Let's
But like
do
whatever.
Let's rank them. Fuck it.
Okay. Ranking them through. Okay. Do you want to go through first?
Okay. Did you actually write yours? Cause
My rank?
Yeah.
No, I didn't rank mine.
Okay. I'll go first then. Cause I didn't either. But I'll just go through it now. Igor's number 1, obviously. After that, it's hard because it's either between Wolf or Flower Boy, for me.
Okay.
I
mean, you just continue on, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Okay, Wolf or Flower Boy is number 2. Then after that is Bastard. Then Cherry Bomb and Goblin are probably tied.
Okay.
Maybe Cherry Bomb a little more than Goblin to me. So Goblin is probably my least favorite.
Okay, for me, my top one, for sure, is Flower Boy. That's not even like a question. After going through this, it might be funny considering the discussion that we just had.
If Igor's number 2 for you, I'm gonna.
No. I think actually I put Wolf as number 2, which is funny because I didn't really have much to say about Wolf. But
yeah, that's weird. I thought you really didn't like that.
No, it's not that I didn't like it. I just didn't have much to say about it. But I did like it. I thought it was consistent at least, and it had a good sound to it. And then I would put Igor at number 3. Wait, no, wait. Well, Flower Boy is definitely a number 1. I don't know. It's kind of hard to rank some of these albums a little bit, but I would put Flower Boy, then Wolf, then Goblin, then Igor, then Cherry Bomb, and then Bastard.
We have to stop this right now.
What?
You're putting Goblin over Igor?
I put Goblin over Igor. Yeah. I think Goblin was a landmark album.
You're out of your mind.
Even though Goblin was a little bit too close to home to Bastard, I think
Bastard was more important than Goblin was.
It probably was. It probably was like
if you're gonna say it
within the world of within the rap community, but I think if Bastard, if things that ended with Bastard, I think it would have been like kind of lost to time, whereas like Goblin is what like reinforced like what this was. And also Goblin has like at the end of the day it has Yonkers. Like how do you
Igor has Earthquake.
I've already told you I don't think Earthquake is that
it has Gone. You love that one.
I do like Gone, but like Yonkers is like from
that's like the song.
From a cultural point of view, I think it is a very important song. Maybe the song itself, like, looking back at it, it might not be as great as some of the other songs he's released. Yonkers was like a landmark song in terms of like what was going on in popular rap at the time.
I've lost all respect for you, so let's just end this right now. Okay, guys, that was our discussion about Tyler the Creator's discography. You've learned that David is completely clueless about everything.
At this point, we're like, should we even have like a new music section?
Yeah, we might not.
Yeah, we'll save the new music section maybe for next week. But like at this point,
we've gone on a little long about it. So, take this, okay? Be happy with what you got.
that was Tyler the Creator. Our look through Tyler the Creator.
Yeah, make sure.
I don't think we're like as far off from each other as we seem to be, but we definitely have our sticking points.
Yeah,
over here.
make sure you follow us on Blood on the Mic 1 on Twitter, Blood on the Mic on Instagram. Follow me at Torna Lewis, TornaLuis on Twitter. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you want to talk about. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Goodbye.